last week we talked about the whole Jamar Chase, Patrick Mahomes little thing, little pettiness. So
Yep.
things kind of get a little more. Some are saying it's not throwing shade. Some Chief fans are pissed off about the comments were made by Orlando Brown Jr., former left tackle for the Chiefs. So it's safe to say whether it is shade or not, because he's wearing the Bengals jersey now, people are just going to right away take it as Orlando Brown has joined the dark side and he's throwing shade at Patrick Mahomes and the offense. So earlier this week, Orlando Brown was talking about blocking for Joe Burrow, and this is what he said. Quote, now as opposed to having to play in a lot more space with guys on my edge, guys have got to rush through me because Joe isn't necessarily at 12.5 on certain drops. He's going to be at 7.5 getting the ball out. So my question is to this, JD, we talked about this before. You talked about it all the time last year about how, Orlando Brown's actually doing a solid job. It's just that he's got to protect for a long time, and these are really deep drops. And I think this is more of a problem 2 years ago, not so much this past year, because I think Patrick kind of tightened that up with this game, not dropping back as far, but still happened. Do you think this is a fair assessment, or would you consider this a diss at Patrick Mahomes when Orlando Brown talks about the differences between Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes drops?
No, I don't think it's a diss at Patrick Mahomes at all. It just, when guys, because offenses are geared differently, right, for different quarterbacks and different players. But Orlando Brown knew what type of space, and you got to know that, especially when you're blocking, who you're blocking for. And that's not necessarily a dig at a guy. It's just knowing your personnel. So his personnel knowing Patrick is Patrick, and I've said this, like I said, we said this before, and I'll say it again. Patrick Mahomes drops back further than every other quarterback in the league. Okay. And so that would put Orlando out there in space, exposed even more. That's just reality there. That's the truth. And so a lot of people didn't really see that. They couldn't quite understand that and comprehend exactly what I was talking about. They just think, oh, well, you're supposed to do your job. Well, shoot. It would be easier if a quarterback is more of a pocket passer, if he's going from under center, if he is dropping at 7 yards to 10 yards, that will make it easier on the tackle, no doubt about it. And nobody will dispute that. Especially somebody who's played the game, somebody who's played tackle or guard or anything else, it's going to be easier. And so, I think he's just kind of making a point of just knowing where the quarterback sits. And like I said, he's not saying anything about Patrick, like, oh, man, he just made it tougher. No, it's just this is how our offense is geared. It's almost the same thing, like if a guy is in an offense where you might run zone as opposed to coming downhill and you just running man, schemes on doing things, right? And so if you're doing a lot more, downhill running, blocking as opposed to getting to the outside and stretches and sweeps and stuff, then it's different. And so you just got to know that. You got to know that as a blocker, as a tackle, as a guard, tight end, whoever it is that's out there. You got to know your personnel. It's no different when I look at maybe a return guy. Dante Hall, return guy. Dante Hall could be anywhere on the field. That's why you always got to keep your block going, because you never know where Dante was going to be. He cut back, he cut left, he cut right, because he's creating things. And so your thing in your head is, let's just keep blocking. Matter of fact, I'm not going to give up on this play. Where a guy might look like he's going to go get Dante, Dante's going to bring it back to you. And so these things would make it easier, but you just had to know your personnel. You had to know who you're blocking for. And so you might have a different returner that was just straight up field. With this guy, he ain't going to get as many yards as Dante. So that's why that's why that comparison is always knowing who you got and who you're blocking for, knowing the personnel and the scheme that you're blocking for. So, no, it's not a dig at Patrick, not at all. I just think it's just the offense that he's in right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what you're saying. I did see some Chief fans. I mean, some Chief fans brought up some good points. A lot of Chief fans are saying, "Oh, he's kind of making excuses for himself as to why he gave up so many pressures to Patrick because it was harder to block for him and stuff." And he's trying to make excuses on how he's going to do even better this year because Joe Burrow, doesn't drop back as far as Patrick Mahomes. So he's trying to make excuses for his play with Patrick Mahomes. Do you see that or no?
No, I wouldn't say it because it would be a cop out. I don't think he's copping out at anything. Fans look at it as one way because to them, if you're not doing your job, then you're not doing your job. If you're getting beat, then you're getting beat. And that's all they see. But they may not know that, the junction point where tackles should be meeting the defensive end with the different offense based off the set, maybe 2 yards sooner than what he does with Joe Burrow, right? And so that's the difference of it. And so when you know these things, that's why I wasn't necessarily as critical of him and his play. Not saying that he couldn't do his job, and that's what you get paid for. This is the offense that you're in, so you got to adjust to those things, especially left tackle, right? Because he went from right and he'd go to left, so he had to adjust to those things. But you still look for a guy to do his job, and he knows that. But I think he's just making a point of a reality also too. Okay, and so there's no getting past that of knowing that this is what you have to deal with. And so he's I don't think he's copping out at all. But I think, obviously what ends up happening. People start showing videos, him getting beat, him falling on the ground, all these different things, right? I think that's kind of like they try to own him in those videos, right? The critical of his play, like, oh, you weren't working, you ain't, well, shoot. Maybe, is he the right fit for our scheme or he's trying to run? So that's the question. I will say this, okay, and just kind of finishing this up. The proof will be in the pudding. We'll see what it's going to look like after this year with Joe Burrow. Okay, so we see that there's more pressures or same amount of hurries and sacks. Then we're going to say, well, your theory is all BS because you was getting beat the same. But like I said, we have to wait and see and find out. We have to wait and see and find out, right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. The difference is what he's saying. Will that be? Would that be? I guess a point after this year. Plus another thing, uh, passes. How many passes are they going to be throwing? Right. That's another thing too. The number of passes they're giving in the game. So yeah, there's ways to measure this. I'm sure PFF will do it and
Yeah.
look at what it's going to be. So yeah, now.
Yeah. And also too, I feel like in watching a lot of these Bengals games, fly in here. I feel like watching a lot of these Bengals games, it's kind of like it's more like he gets a ball out fast. I mean, I know certain time there's certain points last year we did do that. We kind of went to the kind of rhythm when we were going fast, but they kind of get the ball. It's like 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out. So I feel like based on what we've seen, I mean, based on when Patrick holds the ball a long time, scrambling around, like kind of like that Dante Hall comparison is a great comparison.
Yeah.
But like I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if he does excel this year and he doesn't have as many pressures as he does for, i.e., not having as many pass attempts. And if they get the ball out fast, Burrow gets the ball out pretty quickly. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen this year.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised either if it does happen. And if it does, then so be it. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
He's still in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
None
Yeah.
of this matters right now at this moment.
It's
So
true.
we can say whatever, and everybody can be upset. And look, Orlando Brown Jr. is in Cincinnati. Okay, we got Jawan Taylor over here. Okay, that's the deal. We got Donovan Smith. He's over here too. So that everything transpired to, I guess, how it was supposed to transpire.
Yeah.
We'll have to see with this offense, with these guys, the new guys that's in here, to see exactly what's going to happen with their numbers as well. But Patrick Mahomes, look, Joe Burrow is not elusive as Patrick Mahomes either.
Not at all.
Patrick Mahomes is an underrated runner with the football as a quarterback. I think it's one of his strong suits. And you know what? He made a lot of guys look silly. He extended a lot of plays with his legs. That's the deal what you have to deal with, man. That's the beauty of it. We got a magician back there who's making plays and he can do it with his legs. Yeah, we're gonna call on you to do some things that you ain't used to doing. Okay? But you better get ready. You better buckle up, okay? Because it's coming. Be ready and be prepared.
Yeah, looking forward to that matchup. And I wonder what other kind of stuff happens this offseason up until the leading up of that late season matchup, because with the fact that this is something that people are trying to make a thing, the Jamar Chase thing last week, so this is only going to continue to grow as the season gets up, especially if these are the two top teams based on seeding wise by the time we get to that game later on in the season. Whew.
Look, and look, let's be honest. Because the thing is, obviously everybody's gonna have their eyes on it, and the boos and all that's gonna come out. But you always see us when a guy leaves, especially now, leaves from a team. There's always going to be criticism. Okay, people's going to nitpick at every little thing that somebody does, and it comes out, and there's always this is the whole social media type of world we live in, right?
Yeah.
So I don't care. Heck, if you had 3 hot dogs instead of 2, they're gonna be like, oh man, he's getting fat and all that. Man, it's gonna be critical of every little thing. So be it. Whatever.
Yeah, no, it's very true, and it's also a guy who Orlando Brown did get a lot of flack from the Chiefs fans, anyways. Now you're going to a big rival of the Chiefs, so like it's only going to add to the Orlando Brown hate. And I won't be surprised if we see if he has a few bad games during the regular season, or if he's having a good season. If people are getting sacks on Orlando Brown's side, we'll be seeing Chief fans posting videos of it all the time. So this is not going to go anywhere. This hate.
Listen, Orlando Brown Jr. Hey, it happened with Tyreek Hill. Hey, it's going to happen with Frank Clark, right?
Yep.
People jump all over Frank Clark going to the Broncos like, hey, congratulations on getting the guy that's not getting sacks. Y'all never make the playoffs, or you won't see how many sacks he's going to get. I'm like, are you for real? So it's going to be that, man. That's all right. That's okay.
It's a love-hate world, JD, and it's especially a love-hate world in the NFL world.
Yeah. So you go, boo! Oh, you terrible! Oh, you trash! So you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere. Right?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.